Welcome to Real Kiwi Fishing. This week we're back out in the little FC. And what we've done is we headed over to the west and we're just trying to catch some better snapper than what we normally do up here this time of year. We started with a couple of small ones. Temperatures dropped right down. And that's not a bad fish to start with. He's way takeable, but yeah, their temperatures dropped right down. What normally happens is these smaller fish move off and the fishing sort of gets a little bit harder and more quiet, but the fish you do catch are normally sort of 2 or 3 times bigger than that. Pier's hooked up, and that's what we're trying to do today. So we thought these smaller fish would have moved off by now. It's around 16 degrees, so it's not that cold, but we're hoping those smaller fish have moved off. So far they're still here, but it's not as hectic as it normally is with those smaller fish, and we were just hoping those bigger models sort of stick around a little bit longer. It's another nice fish Pier's got there, but not those sort of 50-60 centimetre ones that we normally get this time of year. So maybe the water's still a little bit warm and these smaller fish are hanging in there, which will probably take a few home anyway, but we're hoping to stay away from those smaller ones. We're hoping they were gone and the bigger fish had turned up, but we've only just started. This is our first couple of baits, so there's fish here at least. Got a Berley going, and we're just in a nice little channel, comes off about 2 meters, drops into about 10 meters, and the fish just swim up and down this channel. So hopefully we get into a few fish, hopefully some better ones, and hope you guys enjoy. Oh yeah, hooked up again. We're catching those normal size fish that we catch through those sort of summer months, around that 35 to 40 centimeters, which still isn't a bad fish, but yeah, we were hoping they were moved off, but some bigger fish may turn up in the Berley trail, but we'll probably take a couple of these fish home. They're really nice fish to fill it up and actually eat, around that sort of 37, 38. Pier's hooked up to something a little bit better. We're hoping it's a bit bigger snapper. That's what we're after. And if it's a big kahawai, it's even a bonus. We want some big kahawai baits. There you go, it's just a big kahawai, but that's all good. That's what we're after. We want some big kahawai baits. This time of year the snapper get quite tentative on the bite. They just nibble away. They actually feel like bait fish sometimes, but they're actually nice snapper. It's just that time of year they're not that aggressive. So having those harder baits, the kahawai, the yellowtail, is real good bonus this time of year, because they can just nibble away at it. The bigger fish will come in and sort of grab it off them once the small ones are sort of having a go. Gets them a bit excited. Hooked up again. Feels like a little bit nicer snapper. A little bit bigger than what we've been getting, not that much bigger. A little bit better, but still not the ones that I thought would have been hanging around here. But it's not a bad fish. Pier's hooked up. So we're just starting to get some real good bites. What we're going to do is we're going to carve this carwai up for bait. The best thing to do is get rid of those scales pretty much straight away when you catch it. It's a lot easier than when it's dry. When it's dry, the scales are real hard to come off. You can pretty much just get it in the one scoop up the body. So basically you just want to fillet it. We definitely want some bigger baits. I've had a couple of good grabs. Go, just fillet it up. You don't want to go too small on them, so just cut straight up across the body and long strips. And then these longer strips I like to just cut into little cubes. And there you go, some nice bits of carwai.
On the Berley back.
And then when you put it on your hook, you just want to go through once, through the meat, back out through the skin. Pier's hooked up. Thinks this one might be a gurnard. And we got gurnard. We do catch a few of them around here. We actually get some real nice ones up to about 50 centimeters, maybe even bigger. And that's always a good bycatch. Pier's hooked up again. We're hoping it's a snapper. If it is, it's a little bit nicer and probably what we're looking for. So the tide's pretty much slowed right down. The fish has sort of gone off the bite a little bit. Those smaller ones are moved off, which is good. And this is what can happen when those smaller fish move off. You get those little bit better fish. Still not the big ones that we were expecting, but that's what we normally would think would be here around about now. So we'd think that would be catching a few more like that, and then you get a couple of bigger ones around that sort of 70 centimeters. This one having a go at mine at the moment, but yeah, it's not a bad fish. That's what I'd expect us to be catching sort of from when we got here, rather than those smaller fish. But they can turn up, especially on that slack and then the turn. We were here half tied in, and I liked fishing it on that sort of hour just after dead low. So might get a few goodies on that outgoing. So yeah, it goes a little bit quiet on that slack tide. It's pretty much slack tide because we're sitting in a channel and the fish sort of swim up and down it. They move up into the shallows up the back there, and then swim back out on that turn. So we're just sitting waiting for that tide to turn. You'll get the odd bite here or there, but probably about an hour ago it was all go, just before slack. So we sort of just got to sit around, wait for that tide to turn to go back out, and they should come back on the bite again. Hooked up again. This one feels like a gurnard. There's a good gurnard.
That's a good size.
Tide's just starting to turn. The fish is starting to come back on the bite. There we go, nice gurnard. Nothing wrong with that. A couple of those to take home would be nice. It's a little bit nicer fish. And that's what we're after, those better fish. He's probably about sort of 55, 56, getting close to that 60 centimetres. And that's what I thought we would have been catching a lot more of here. We don't get a lot, but we get quality like that size. Might get sort of 10, 15 of them on the incoming and then on the outgoing. But there's still a lot of those sort of fish around that sort of 35, 45 centimetres, which I thought would have really been gone from this area. But the water's not that cold like I was saying. It's still up there around that sort of 16, 17.
Pen size.
So yeah, hopefully get a few more of those. The tide's just turned, boats swung right round. It's amazing when it was pretty much slack tide, no bites, we were just sitting around having something to eat, got the odd bite, 10 minutes here or there, and then the old tide turned, swung us around, and then away we go again. Fish just seem to swim up and down this channel. Hooked up again. A smaller snapper have turned up again for us, which is a bit of a bummer. But in saying that, they're still takeable. Most are up around that sort of 35, 40 into the 45. Pierre's caught a couple of nice fish up around that 50. So they are here, but when those smaller fish are still here, they sort of get to the bait first. There you go. I'll let him go. Hopefully for something a little bit bigger. My next bait, back on the Kiwi baits. Just the tubes. Pierre's hooked up behind me. There's definitely plenty of fish. When it gets hectic, like we normally get it, normally means those smaller fish are still here. You normally sort of sit, wait for those big hits, so your bait doesn't get attacked by the small fish. But like I was saying, you might only get sort of up to half a dozen nice fish. But that's what it's quite nice. You don't get any bites, and then you get those grabs. So although the hectic fishing is quite cool fun,
Just game off.
catch and release. Yeah, those nice fish, those bigger fish, that's 50s, 60s, up to 70s. This is quite nice when you're just sitting there getting no bites and bang, you're in. But yeah, just cubing up Kiwi. Hasn't been too bad a day. We've got a couple of gurnard in the bin as well, and Pierre's nice, couple of nice fish, and we've got about 5 or 6 fish around that 35 up to 45, so hasn't been a bad day. probably give it a good hour and a half on this outgoing, and maybe call it an early day, get back, fill it up. But pretty much as soon as it hits the bottom, we've still got that Berley going. It's hit the bottom and bite straight away, and it's little bites. And that's the great thing about using that Kiwi. It'll just hang on there, let the little fish bite, get the big boys to come along, go, what's going on over there? Come in and hopefully grab your bait. But I'll probably give it another week or two before those small fish have really gone. Normally that water temperature is down around that 13, 14, and those small fish move off. There you go, another, oh, he's gone. It wasn't big. Got that Kiwi on, so I'll just leave it in there, knowing that I've still got bait on there, and I'll start hitting it again. Oh, that was a lot better. And that broke. It actually broke. That was real nice. It just went shebang.
Are you waiting?
Yeah, up. That current's really kicking in now. Still only using about a 1 ounce. It's sort of making it to the bottom. What I'm doing is letting line out slowly. Fish are grabbing it. Flick the bow arm over and strike. It's not a big fish. It's just that current. Just such a strong fish here in the channel.
You got my line? No?
It's a nice fish. A little bit better than what I've been getting. Appears striking up behind me there. There you go.
Jesus, it's about time, mate.
A little bit nicer fish there. That's what we should normally be catching all the time. Appears hooked up. Looks like a similar fish. So yeah, these nicer fish are starting to turn up. Those smaller fish are sort of more few and far between. Still not a big fish like we normally get here, but oh yep, hooked up. A little bit better. It was on the guts of the Kiwi. Which big snapper love. It's not big, but it's probably about my best fish of the day. What we're going to do is pretty much call it a day. Tried our luck for those bigger fish, but those smaller fish are definitely still in the harbour. So we'll probably give it another week or two. Come back and have another shot at some better fish. Hopefully up around that sort of 50-60 centimetres. But yeah, he's a little bit better. That's what we should be getting all the time. There you go. Nice fish. He'll be getting close to 50 centimetres actually. So we've done a little bit of a shift. Come over to a spot where we normally get a few carrots. Want to pick up a few carrots to take home. And sometimes we get some good snapper and amongst some piers hooked up. Hopefully to a better snapper, if it is a snapper. And it looks like it is. The way that it's fighting. That's a nice West Coast harbour snapper. Look at the silver on him.
Cheers, mate.
beautiful condition. So yeah, we're not too worried if we're catching snapper like that, but we are here for to try and get a few gurnard to take home. And I was saying Pierre did get one at the boat. It was sort of second, third bait, and we thought we were in with the gurnard, but once again, sometimes once the snapper pick up your Berley trail, they just come in and take over, but if they do, you want them sort of like that. There's a lot of fun when these bigger fish turn up, that's for sure. Here's another nice fish. Nothing big, but nice. Nicer than the ones we got this morning. There you go. Another nice fish there. Beautiful condition.
So good.
Oh, we're getting smashed.
Oh, which mine? What's yours? Under or up? Hey?
I don't know.
No, other way.
And again.
Is it?
Under.
Jeez.
Oh, doing the boat tango, we're just getting smashed. Double hook up.
Oh, I feel good. So good.
There's some nice fish turning up.
I'm supposed to see it over here. That side there.
Oh, nice fish.
Oh, I feel good.
Oh.
Yeah, look at this. Awesome. Double hook.
It's going off. Thanks for watching another great day out fishing with Real Kiwi Fishing. And you can also find more of my movies on my YouTube channel, Real Kiwi Fishing.